Dearly redheaded, we are choosing consciousness today to get through this thing called grief. Interesting word, grief. It means love, which makes for a mighty good joke. But I'm here to tell you, there's nothing else. Just joy. And if the big picture tends to bring you down, go crazy once your life goes. Woo!
Start talking.
All right, I'm going to start talking. By the way, I'm sitting here at ConversionWorx, and I want to say their break room is unbelievable.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah.
I had a burrito and a margarita when I stopped in.
You could get that. In one of those lockers in there, we definitely have some booze.
Oh, I just was astonished.
Yeah.
I'm so easily impressed. I want to do a quick recap. No, I don't. You know what? No, I don't.
Okay.
Because it's too hard.
You had a good conversation with Hisham.
We had a great conversation.
Recap complete. On to the next.
Yeah. He's something. He's a special kid. He's a good man. He's such a good man.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
And that's who I do business with, which is I'm just so happy that he's such a pleasure to do business with, and whatever. Today I had planned to talk and link spirituality to science again. I shared about Gabby Kovalenko last time. I'll do it again. She said one thing that I think I've shared before, and I'm actually going to use it in an ad that I'm writing for my financial practice, not for Natural Born Redhead, that our human consciousness is technology. And boy, I can't get that out of my head. I bet you I think of that. I think about that all the time, what a powerful line that is. I was introduced to Andrea Gibson, a poet laureate out of Colorado. They passed away. She's not I don't like the way I said that already. It's they, them. I apologize if I say she or her. They passed away from cancer, and I was introduced to this poem that I hope I can get through it. A love letter from the afterlife. Comfort for those grieving a loved one. And I hope I can get through this. This is just one of those things, man, after losing your mom that I'm just so glad I found. I'm crying already.
Okay.
Woo. God. My love, I was so wrong. Dying is the opposite of leaving. When I left my body, I did not go away. That portal of light was not a portal to elsewhere, but a portal to here. I am more here than I ever was before. I am more with you than I ever could have imagined. So close you look past me when wondering where I am. It's okay. I know that to be human is to be farsighted. But feel me now, walking the chambers of your heart, pressing my palms to the soft walls of your living. Why did no one tell us that to die is to be reincarnated in those we love while they're still alive? Whew. Ask me the altitude of heaven, and I will answer, how tall are you? In my back pocket is a love note with every word you wish you'd said. At night, I sit ecstatic at the loom, weaving forgiveness into our worldly regrets. All day I listen to the radio of your memories. Yes, I know every secret you thought too dark to tell me, and love you more for everything you feared might make me love you less. Oh. When you cry, I guide your tears towards the garden of kisses I once planted on your cheek. so you know they are all perennials. Forgive me for not being able to weep with you. One day you will understand. One day you will know why I read the poetry of your grief to those waiting to be born, and they are all the more excited. There is nothing I want for now that we are so close I open. There is nothing I want for now that we are so close I open the curtain of your eyelids with my own smile every morning. I wish you could see the beauty your spirit is right now making of your pain. Your deep-seated fears playing musical chairs, laughing about how real they are not. My love, I want to sing it through the rafters of your bones. Dying is the opposite of leaving. I want it to echo through the corridor of your temples. That's my favorite line. I am more with you than I ever was before. Do you understand? It was me who beckoned the stranger who caught you in her arms when you forgot not to order for two at the coffee shop. It was me who was up all night gathering sunflowers into your chest the last day you feared you would never again wake up feeling lighthearted. I know it's hard to believe, but I promise it's the truth. I promise one day you will say it too. I can't believe I ever thought I could lose you.
No, I was just looking them up while you were reading that.
Oh.
I listened to you, and I too can relate to that. I don't know if I know I shared it with you off air, but my mother has also passed.
Oh.
So
I'm glad you remind me because I don't
Yeah.
retain
so
things like
in,
that.
In reading that, I'm thinking of it the same way. I'm showing a little bit less than you. I'm coming up on almost 20 years.
Oh.
I'm closer to more years without her than with her almost at this point. You know, we're almost at the halfway point of that. So
Having lost my father,
mm-hmm.
I always thought he was inside of me. And that's also what resonates because when I lost my mother, I feel like my father rejoined her soul and left me for her.
Okay, so that's interesting.
Yeah, and I had a physical. I can't believe I'm talking about it. I had some, along the lines of what Hisham and I were talking about, but not bad experience. I had some very good experiences surrounding losing her, and I feel like I have become just more grounded in my feminine energy since my mother died because my father was so in me, protecting me against. It wasn't just me. It couldn't have been. I wouldn't have survived it. Ooh.
Yeah.
Damn tissues. Anyway, so I had reached out to a client of mine who is familiar with Andrea as well, and she said she can't bring herself. They said, ooh, I gotta watch that. They said they can't bring themselves to watch Come See Me in the Good Light, which is a documentary
About
Andrea and her partner who's also a poet.
Okay.
And I don't know. I mean, I feel like in the last year or a few years I've been more impacted by others than my whole life because I finally get the opportunity to be impacted, which is just nice. It's just nice. It's a nice for somebody so introverted. It just woof. And then what I wanted to do, because I don't consider myself a poet, but I write poetry on occasion. I was looking for a particular poem, but I don't remember what I named it. So I was flying through my computer trying to find something that I didn't even know the name. So I'm hitting A, B, C, hoping, and it was the reason I like poetry is because you can just, and I don't write poetry this long. I'm about to read one of the longest poems I've ever written, but because I found it by accident as a result of looking for the other one. but I for somebody who's so heady, me, I just am so grateful to poetry because what I can say in just, there's something beautiful about being through what I've been through that I can reduce it to a poem. And it's just, and I write very quickly. I think I shared with Brian that I'm doing a parody for my intro to this podcast, and I'm working on it now, and it's a parody based on the beginning of Let's Go Crazy by Prince, the spoken word part of that song. And at first it felt really arrogant, and then it really is freeing because of just the way that I emotionally feel about that man and his energy. And I'm certainly not going to get copyright. I'm not going to be able to use this music. So I figured that was the next best thing. Along the same lines, and this has me feeling horribly vulnerable, although I could scream it from the rafters and not care. So it's a weird thing. When I was looking for that poem, I found a poem I wrote to Jim Carrey. Many people have asked me if I reached out, and I did, but I didn't do it in a way that I was moved to do it. I didn't overthink it. It didn't take me very long. It was just something I chose to do. And I'm going to read it. I didn't think about reading it on the heels of that one, though. So
Okay.
I've been crying all morning. Side note, and this is important to me. Very good pizza down the road. Aldo's, very good pizza.
I'm very partial to their buffalo chicken hoagie.
Okay, just
The kids
you know,
here like the pizza.
the
Kids in the office. I call them kids. There's an age gap.
I called Hisham a kid. He's 30.
Well,
What are you? You're 40?
41 next Thursday.
Okay.
I'm spending my birthday with you next week.
Are you really?
Yeah,
What are we gonna do?
a podcast.
I gotta write that down. Oh, we'll have to do. What do you want to? What should we? Of all the things I talk about, what should I do? You want me to talk about the sixth dimension?
Maybe we'll do just a bunch of square roots or something.
Fuck that joke. I love that joke. And I and that's why it's funny to me, because once he thought about it, he knew the answer. And that's why it's fucking whatever. All right. Now I got to get through this poem. Phew. And I wrote this in 2023, I think. And this was, he was such a light. And I already explained why, so I don't want to go there. And this is just, I mean, I read it this morning to myself, and this is going to be hard. It's like the little girl in me. And I titled it Ode to Not Jim Carrey. If you're familiar with Jim Carrey, it's really, I wrote it to his energy. It started this feeling post my death experience, as your words stuck out with needed variance. I've overthought invincibility having its drawback. Don't think so much anymore, having been brought back. And these were the people I reached out to when I was first. I didn't understand what was happening. I do now, so just take this with a grain of salt. I reached out to his, what are they called? Agent's assistant. I have the person's name. I'm going to avoid it. Somebody else and somebody else. The 3 reach outs I made. And I credit his agent's assistant for blowing me off beautifully. I blow people off all the time in a nice way. This guy blew me off. It was mean. Okay. And as soon as I realized it, I giggled and then went right. That was mean. I wouldn't do that. Usually I just tell people I have diarrhea. Okay. I've only sensed this in my life a few times. My intuition is persistent and suggested rhymes. Hioka, another word I don't want to explain, intuitive and creative do battle within the skin of my skull with continuous rattle. Initially, post-sedation, I thought maybe we had collaboration in our path, but it was bigger than that. It was getting on record, making my mother at 95 laugh. Intangible materiality has haunted me by kind specter, so in deference, I'm no longer denying my vector. Woo! I know I have nothing to anymore lose. I dialed into the collective unconscious when I gave up booze. Meditation, breath work prevails. As I send this off, a Mary that hails. No pining here, no one that got away, only those that weren't meant to stay. An introvert that enjoys social fixes and a consummate thinker. Lucky I used spell check or I'd come across a stinker. Consummate. And okay. It's a thinking joke, whatever. Lonely life. To create, to feel. At least you laugh at me. To create, to feel, and to let my need to spare grief and cultivate joy for a forum. That part doesn't need your help. Arguably, though, a smidge of decorum. Because dick jokes are my vehicle, in prequel and sequel. I'm a sexist feminist and use them to keep things equal. This journey is psychological, neurological for some, and spiritual too. Regardless, the sedation no longer necessary to make it through. I know all that I know about you may be wrong, have changed or evolved, and fire up concern, but that's a matter you'll have to discern. I've experienced good looks, a smart brain, and tons of humor without libation, so now I just lie about being lousy in bed to induce self-deprecation. So I know it's not depression or psychedelics in play. It's those of us that carry grief and recover to stay. I watched you transform from Jesus Christ and likely embrace Carl Jung, and I'm glad to have done so by the light of the moon. All right, that doesn't rhyme too well. Bringing the dark to light is quite the big deal, really the only thing that allowed me to heal. I wish you peace, JC, and will continue to hope to hear your voice. It matters, you know. So many don't make the conscious choice. My natural-born redhead message is to spare grief, insight, joy. Yours was to take away concern. Regardless, it's time for me to adjourn. Wunderbar. Namaste. That's that.
Okay.
I plan to include a few poems in my book. I don't write a lot of poetry, but when I do, it's fast and hard and to relieve my brain of thinking of things. And it's hard because I write in my head all the time. And, well, when I choose, it's... I wish I could, I wish there was a way I could just, connect these to these. It's sometimes paralyzing to write because it's, unless I get a flow going, and it's never writer's block. It's the opposite. And I have a terrible fear of repeating myself because I've spent such a good part of my life dissociated. I have a decent memory, but my memory's just been through a lot. So that probably I have no idea where my time is. So where's my time?
You're at 18 minutes.
Well, I like the 18-minute mark, don't I? Yeah. All right. Well, I will give it a go with the... My mother used to say, my father used to say that when he wanted to have sex. Let's give it a go. Did I ever tell you my mother's story about her wedding night?
No.
Oh, my God.
Well, now you put it out there. You got to share it.
Yeah, maybe fuck the sixth dimension.
Next time.
My mother, I miss my mother. She used to tell this story, and she'd tell if she was, and she might tell it on the pod. The podcast that I did with her, I still can't watch. I can't. So I may have addressed this with her in there because we talked about inappropriate things for an hour and a half. But she was a virgin on her wedding night. She doesn't know if my father was a virgin, which I always thought was really interesting. She was 20, I want to say, when they got married, pushing 20. She was probably 19, turning 20, now that I really think about it. And they used to mess around. They didn't do much of anything before marriage. And so she and I'm telling you, this man, she adored him, but he adored her. And I think I've told you, maybe I haven't. I forget. They fell in love through the war. I mean, I had his letters. I did not have hers. And the reason is because he had to evacuate wherever the hell he was in the war and had to leave the letters behind, which is just heartbreaking, but, whatever. Not compared to everything else that was going on. But I would imagine my mother's letters would have been just scrumptious. But you can tell a lot from what he was feeling through his letters, and that will be eventually in a documentary, not no time soon. So they're on their wedding night, and my father laid towels down on the bed and said, "This is going to hurt, but I'm not going to stop." So that was their wedding night. She said then they got into the shower, and she said they just stared at one another. They couldn't even wash. And then she talked to her sister the next day, who was married, and something like my aunt asked her, I don't know. My aunt was very subdued compared to my mother, so she made a comment to my mother, asked her a question, and my mother, her answer said it was a big night. And that was about it. That was my mother's wedding night. Yeah. Yep. And she and I've they were big fans of the old missionary position. I know that. And
spent a lot of time on my back, as they say.
There was never more appropriate of a time for that one.
Are you proud? I'm proud. That was wonderful. Yeah, she did. She they did not engage in I don't think either engaged in oral. I've told you I want to do the history on that, like when that shit started, because it wasn't happening in the 20s, and it wasn't happening in my mother's bedroom.
I don't know.
But
I wouldn't even know where to start.
The history of the blowjob. And why do they call it that? But anyway, like, why isn't it staff seduction?
See, again, you're too intellectual for that.
That would have been a good sapiosexual joke.
Yes.
Staff seduction. I'm good off the cuff. This is hard.
That's what you need to do.
This is hard. This is like I'm constantly like I talking's left-brained, man.
Maybe you just came up with a whole bit where you just give literal names to sex terminology.
Pages. I have probably 800 yellow pads. And then the things that I think are embedded that I'll never lose, gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one thing I wrote one time that was so funny, my son told me I didn't write it. You didn't write that. That's too funny. My kids they're pretty fucking funny. They there was between my mother and my two sons. Oh, the humor was. Oh, let me just reflect on that. My mother, and I hope this translates, although obviously I didn't give a shit with Hisham, so I should stop caring about it. But my mother would, she lived on the first floor of my home. She had her own bedroom, her own bathroom, and then we had a sliding door to the kitchen. So before she spoke, you always heard the door. So she came through that door, and inevitably, she used my name all the time. You looking for more? I was gonna say. So she'd inevitably say, Joanne, and then she'd pause, and my son would then fill in what she was gonna say, like deadpan. Did you get me a paper? He would just like reiterate 6 things that she would inevitably ask me every day. It was very, very funny, and he wouldn't flinch. I mean, his back would be to her. They had a very special. She was very bonded with my kids.
Yeah,
and she just never. I don't think we argued ever over the kids, ever. She just supported me with what I wanted to do. I was thinking about it because I mentioned it last week, and your comments do really resonate. So I'm glad you comment. But I was feeling after Dr. what's his name, Dr. Shore, yeah, the old man I said I'd fuck last week, him, Sapio. I had shared that he had said in the womb, 3rd trimester to 2 to 3 years is just a very important attachment time. And my life took a interesting turn when my son was 1.5. And I remember I knew enough when my older son would walk in the room just to smile. Like I knew enough. That was my instinct to hide what I was going through. I just would put a smile on my face, kind of like the way Hisham was describing his mother knew how to be.
Right.
I knew that. And but where my younger son was concerned, I couldn't handle him crying. And I just remember, like I was feeling, my point is, sometimes this is my point. My point is I was feeling badly about that information that I learned from Dr. Shore, but then I remembered I had asked my mother, who helped me with daycare, I said, I can't listen to him cry. It's too heartbreaking. Just hold him. She held my son all the time. All the time. Just... he wasn't a good napper. It's funny how baby habits become adult habits, but he just never napped. But he'd sleep through the night. And she would just hold him. She'd hold him through his naps, and she just honored me in a way that nobody ever honored me like my mother did. And I think I told you I was her second favorite person. Very clear about that my father was first.
Mm-hmm.
When she died, she said after he died, he'd come to her in dreams at the end of the bed and kind of wave her on. And obviously, she stuck around until she was 96. She lost him when she was 54. She actually lost my father at the same age I lost her, 54. Going on 55, right? Yeah. But when she was dying, I remember telling her, he's going to come, and you're going this time. Like, go. Fucking go, man. Mm-hmm. Go. All right, I'm going to save... Where I was going to go this week was talk a little bit about... It bothered me that I didn't have a better answer for you on the 6th dimension. So
that's okay.
Maybe next week... I don't want it to be like this elusive thing, though, because it's just perspective. I'm not leaving my body. I'm not, I'm not remote viewing anything. It's a very conscious experience. And the way I spoke to a woman on Tuesday, she had said something in a Zoom call that I was on with Gabby. This woman stood out, and I subsequently had a conversation with her because of something she said on that Zoom call. And the way she described it, I had never heard before, was the fifth dimension is kind of where I spend most of my time in my head. That's why I get so pissed off at the third dimension, because I'm still trying not to judge the third dimension and be in the fifth. And it's very much my calling to spare grief and incite joy within this dimension. The sixth dimension, as she says, when that stuff goes away. Okay. And you kind of, it's more about self, the self, there's a bunch of terms for it, but it's a real body and mind consciousness, and the self sort of prevails. She told me, because I was telling her part of my problem in between the fifth and sixth dimension perspective are my sons, and she just told me to trust that their souls know what is in store for them. It has, I know it has very little to do with me, so whatever I'm supposed to do, as much as I'm afraid it'll impact them in a negative way, she just really encouraged me to lose that, which I already knew. She when I talk to people that are intuitive, the other intuitives often want to impart, and I'm not one of those. I am, because I'm doing this, but I don't need anybody to agree with me. In fact, if you disagree with me, I welcome it, because, it makes for a nice conversation. So it's hard when I start conversations with other intuitives, because it usually takes us a little while to get to the place where they understand where I'm coming from, and that's in life too. So it's really not that different. But once I was done talking to her, I was angry. Not right away, but the next day, like yesterday. Was it just yesterday? I was walking around like pissed. And that's part of the emotion that you experience between the dimensions. And I read about it, and I was like, all right, and then all my brain needs very often is just a little explanation. just give me something. And then I move on. But I in coming here this morning, I was just really, really cognizant, no pun intended, that I'm going to do this for a certain amount of time. It's going to resonate, and it's going to either fly or not fly. And I'm just so grateful. I hope you know that.
Cool.
So grateful. And next week is actually a personal friend of mine that we're going to be calling Jersey. Not using her name.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about her journey.
Is she from New Jersey?
Good guess.
Okay.
Cleveland. She has got the blessing of her son to talk about their journey.
Cool.
And
okay.
She has helped me so much, as many people do in my life with the stuff that goes over my head. Like, she's just been, especially the last year or so, after my incident, I just really leaned on her in particular, because just to process, get through it. All right, my dear.
Okay.
I'll sing happy birthday to you next week.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening and supporting Natural Born Redhead. If you follow the bouncing balls, please like and subscribe. If you know someone interested in sparing others grief and inciting joy, message me on Facebook or reach out via my website, Natural Born Redhead. J-Ma.